Yep, pretty much the same.
Oh, cheers, Danny. He has put us live
Oh,
because
fuck.
we are absolute. Yeah, John, we're live. Please do not say fuck or bugger. Hello, we are a Bergkamp Wonderland. Danny has put us live. Fuck it. This is the post-Arsenal game. And post-Arsenal game, they're all post-Arsenal games. Come on, John. This is what happens when he throws me in a tiz. I've got no idea what's going on. We played Man United. These are all Arsenal games. We are a Bergkamp Wonderland. This week, we are an Arsenal podcast. I think
that's the intro, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I can't introduce you anymore because I've already mentioned you about 4 times already.
Hello.
Trying to work out what's going
Hello,
on here.
John, as everyone likes me saying. Oh,
Exactly.
we won.
Hello, John. Hello,
we
Josh.
Fucking idiot.
Oh,
amazing. How are you, Josh?
I'm very well, thank you. All the better for us actually winning that game 1-0 because for about, should we say about 70 to 80 minutes of that game, I thought this has got 1-0 United win with some massive controversy or fluky winner written all over it, whether or not that was going to be McTominay scoring from 45 yards. And Leno has been blinded because, Mike Dean has got his watch out and he's just kind of tilting the light into his eyes to blind him. It was going to be something like that we wouldn't get. But yeah, to get it with a penalty up at Old Trafford for a 1-0 win, you can't say fairer than that, to be honest. But what did you think of the performance in general?
I thought we were excellent. In particular, first half, second half, we dropped off a bit, but just overall the game, I thought the game plan Arteta set out seemed to work. United helped us in that they were pretty poor, I thought, for them in the first half. They're obviously still thinking about the Spurs game and how on earth do you lose that many goals to Spurs? Ha ha ha. Although Spurs. But no, I just thought he got his tactics spot on and everyone played really well through the whole team. I know some players got a bit slated on Twitter and I was trying to defend a few people. But I just thought that overall performance was excellent. We nullified what United tried to do. We shut down their, best players and the most influential ones really well in the game. And just really well done, Mikel and all the boys. I know we won it for a penalty in the end, but I thought we made enough chances that we could have won the game in open play anyway. So, it's just relief. Just absolute relief that we've won it and finally got that fucking, that monkey off our back.
Yeah, I think that's the most frustrating thing about that whole game from that performance is we didn't create more chances from it. Did you think one thing that I was kind of very stressed about was not closing down Maguire or Lindelof as quickly as you possibly could? Because we know Harry Maguire, he might, there's clips on YouTube where he looks like he's good on the ball, but realistically, if you close him down quick enough, he's going to give it away. And I thought that's possibly why we saw Willian come in for Pepe. Was there anything else in the lineup as well that you thought was a bit?
I wasn't overly surprised with it. I saw a few people sort of tilt their heads at the selection of Elneny. That to me made sense. I thought Xhaka hasn't been in great form lately. Ceballos, I don't think has been playing particularly well. And Elneny's not exciting. He's not, a flair player or anything like that, but he's Mr. Consistent. He'll give you 7 out of 10 every game. He was probably better than that, to be fair, today. But what he does do is just release the ball, give the centre-backs an option. He's always moving. He will run all game for you as well. He's got a really good engine. And what we saw from it as well was that it allowed Partey to play a bit higher up the pitch and drive on with the ball, which is something we've kind of wanted since Partey's come in and we haven't seen yet. And obviously it's early days, but I think that really helped release him. And also he's got that ability to drop in back into the defence as well, because it was kind of is it a back 3 today? Is it a back 4? It was obviously changing throughout the game depending on when we were defending or not. The only other question mark I had was maybe Willian, just because I know it was Dundalk, but Pepe, I thought at first he started poorly in that game, but he came on and obviously was doing better as the game went on and then scored that amazing goal. But I think what you're talking about in terms of what Willian will offer you off the ball and his sort of positional play, he's excellent at that and that closing down and stuff. So I think if we'd maybe gone 2 up or something like that, you might have seen Pepe come on rather than us just try and, make a few more defensive subs and just hold out for the last 10 minutes. If it's 2-0, Pepe maybe comes on and then we can stretch them a bit. But yeah, I thought the lineup was pretty much as expected. I was hoping Lacazette wouldn't play through the middle. It'd be Aubameyang, but I guess that's kind of wishful thinking at the moment because Mikel seems pretty certain on that. And to be fair to Lacazette, I thought he did a pretty good job today.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to look at is what options do we really have on that left wing if we do drop out Lacazette, play Aubameyang central. Reece Nelson, we've only seen him play against Dundalk. That's his only real minutes of the season. So I don't think he's particularly an option there. I wonder what will happen when Martinelli comes back to fitness.
Yeah, that will be the interesting one, and maybe we'll see him and a bit more rotation in the forward line because at the moment it seems like Arteta's favourites seem to be Lacazette, Aubameyang, and Willian as his front three, at least for the Premier League games. And we should probably say hello to the chat. Hello, chat.
Yes,
nice to see
sorry,
you all
I
here.
haven't got around to that. I was trying to find a good way to segue into it and go. Phil Xhaka was the first one here, and then it was Yemi Fash, who has got one of. I'm trying to work out what kit it is because it's very small. The icon on my screen. Yeah, I know it's a blue one. I know it's Arsenal, and I know it might say Fly Emirates on it. But other than that, I'm at a complete loss of which kit it actually is, and it might even be black. Who knows? It is very small. Mike Hertz is in there. He's got another concept kit, which I can work out is either Arsenal or Barnsley. I'm gonna
guess Arsenal. Yeah.
Yeah, but knowing Danny and putting Preston North End badges up for at least a month, it probably is a Barnsley shirt with Fly Emirates on the front of it because no one's going to be able to distinguish the badge at a couple of pixels high.
I just want to say quickly a big thank you as well to Pete Colton just for dropping in and leaving a like. Hope family who are suffering with COVID, recovering everything, and everyone at ABW is, as always with all of our listeners, hoping you will pull through. And this, if you're in the UK as well, you're not going to suffer too much with this new shitty lockdown. But fuck the bad news. Talk about the game. There's not a lot to talk about in the actual game itself. It's probably more about individual performances. God, I don't know where to... Can we start with our new boy, Partey?
Oh, yeah. Let's do that.
Because I thought he was fantastic today. Really, really good.
Yeah, he was like... I don't want to go... This might be a bit harsh, but he seemed like El Neni when he came in. Like he still had all of that excitement, that engine. He had a little bit more to his game in terms of moving the ball between his feet, if you know what I mean, to try and dribble out of situations. But otherwise, I think him and El Neni, you can see where the extra money is and where that's gone into. He's more than El Neni because of those bits and pieces. And I thought he was superb in that midfield, as we mentioned, that partnership. The way they just blocked any passing lane for Man United when they tried to get the ball out from the back was just absolutely superb. I think we can then go on to one of our other new boys, and we'll talk about our centre-backs. And I remember a couple of seasons ago, Arsene Wenger saying about one of them, Rob Holding, was it a problem he didn't cost 50 million pounds, that we're not screaming and shouting how good he is? But is it the problem that we only paid 25 million pounds for Gabriel? Because that was, I'm gonna say it, he's probably the best centre back in the league.
Yeah, I got a message from one of my friends, and he said, "Jesus Christ, Gabriel's a defender," which is probably, if you just read that, you'd be like, well, that's a stupid statement. But knowing Arsenal centre-backs over the last sort of 10 years, you'd be like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. I thought he was superb today. His calmness on the ball. We will talk about Holding as well, his performance. But both of those two were excellent. But Gabriel in particular, some of the tackles he made, the sliding tackle he made on Matic in the box, when he's on a yellow card, nailed it, like absolutely spot on. No question about that. They were obviously appealing for a penalty because they're going to do United. But yeah, he just looks superb, and he's settled in the league so quickly. Physically strong, he's got the pace to recover. His passing seems great. His awareness, and the thing that I really liked from him and Holding today was the moment Rashford or Greenwood got the ball, they were on them straight away. They timed their runs to close them down perfectly, so they didn't have a chance to turn and then face them up and then run with the ball. Because let's be fair, Rashford and Greenwood are both two very good players, who, if you give them time, they're going to cause you problems. And we saw that, I think, in the first half. There was that one chance that Greenwood got where he was forced quite wide. Really good ball from Rashford. And it was the only time he got any space. But they were on them constantly the whole game. And I thought Holding as well, for a guy who hasn't played since the Liverpool game. I think he got injured.
Yeah.
To come back into a game like this where you've got to play against two really pacey forwards. You've got Pogba, who I know can be hot and cold, but you've got him and Fernandes behind them who can supply the ball. It's a really big ask, and he was excellent today. I also really enjoyed that, in particular in the first half, his absolute shithousing on Rashford and kicking him as much as possible.
I think that was one that was given out to the players because you could see they were always leaving a little bit in on him when they had the opportunity. And that was one thing that worried me coming into the game was Rashford's form.
Yeah.
Because he's another one that, you know what, he'll score all of his goals that's in that season in like a 5-game window, and then he'll just do nothing for the rest of the season. And he was coming into that kind of transition, you know, he just scored a hat-trick against Leipzig midweek, and you're thinking, if we play a high line and they continue with that diamond, we might have a problem here.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that we just stopped them creating any chances and got the goal, which made them have to attack. I think if they'd scored first, they would have picked us off.
Yeah, I think that's a totally different game. And if they get that first goal, then I'm not sure that we come back into it. But yeah, obviously getting the goal the way we did is great, and then it forces them onto us. But Holding and Gabriel were excellent. I thought Tierney and Bellerin as well were really, really good. They offered us outlets all the time, out wide, and got forward as much as they could, but defensively really solid again. And again, another shout for Elneny. When we had to drop into a back three, he was the first man in there, and there seemed to be a really good understanding of positioning, of who's covering who, because when Gabriel and Holding were obviously pushing up on Rashford and Greenwood, making those challenges, there was space in behind, and then Elneny was dropping in to cover him. So it was really, really good communication. Leno didn't have a lot to do today, just that one save from Greenwood, but again, I thought he was solid. And the one thing that we've kind of complained a little bit about with him is he's coming out for corners and flapping a little bit in them. And I thought he was actually really good in the air today and quite dominant, and we didn't really give him a chance. Just brilliant defensive performance from the team. I want to talk a little bit about Willian.
Yeah, let's go for it.
He got some real pelters on Twitter, especially the first half, which I thought was really harsh. I understand when you see a player, and I get it the same because I do the same thing to Pepe, and I'm guilty of this. When a player runs with the ball and they dribble and you lose the ball, it's really frustrating. You've turned it over, and sometimes it's in a bad position, and you give the other team a chance to counter. That wasn't the case today because we were so solid, behind those front three. But people just seem to ignore all the good things Willian did. He made one of the best chances that came up there, the really good ball in for Aubameyang that he couldn't quite get down. I think Lindelof just got a touch on it last second. He played the other ball as well where Aubameyang squared it to Lacazette, and again Lindelof just got the tiniest touch, and Lacazette ended up with an air shot, for it. But I thought he was really good today. You could see he was blowing a bit towards the end of it, and that's why he made the sub. But like we said at the start, I think what he offers you off the ball in his positioning and his covering, I think is excellent.
Yeah, I think again with Willian, he puts that ball into the top corner, and I think we're singing his praises, and he was,
absolutely,
it was a man of the match performance from him. But it is those kind of little things, and as we're not creating so many chances at the moment, every chance looks like a bigger miss than it actually is.
Yeah,
like
of course.
Looking at the Lacazette chance, where it comes off the back of Lindelof's foot.
Yeah, the air shot. Yeah,
it's the air shot,
yeah.
And I was thinking, oh god, he's going to get so many pelters for this.
Yeah,
but it's because he only has 1 or 2 shots a game that if he misses them, it becomes more of an issue. But I thought he was really unlucky as well in his general performance. I thought for the first 68 minutes or so, until you started seeing him, start to blow, the performance of Lacazette was, I think, perfect without getting a goal.
Yeah, because that, as much as I want to see Aubameyang play through the middle, and I think a lot of fans do, the one thing I'm not sure Aubameyang can do is that pressing and that chasing down that Lacazette does. And his hold-up play sometimes isn't the best, but it's certainly something Aubameyang cannot do particularly well. So I think you do have to give him credit for that. And I was the same. I was really good. I think he even put a tweet out about Lacazette missing that one where he got the air shot. But when you watch the replay back, Lindelof just gets the tiniest nick and it just completely just takes the ball away from him, because otherwise I think that is a goal. Yeah. I actually thought our worst player on the day was probably Aubameyang. He actually looked a little bit off the pace, and he wasn't making the runs that he normally would, and the movement. His one good bit of link play was obviously the Willian chance where he hit the bar. But yeah, I actually thought he was probably the poorest player on the team. But it doesn't matter when he steps up and he scores the goal, Josh, because that was the really exciting bit for me, was who's going to take the penalty.
Yeah, I think that was, one getting the penalty in the first instance. I think that was the most exciting thing that happened all game, certainly in the second half for Arsenal. But then when Aubameyang stepped up, I didn't think anyone else would take it. I don't know why I'd have thought else, but one thing I did think was quite nice of Sky was when they put up the graphic of where penalties, they decided to exclude the one he missed at Spurs, because that was straight that wasn't on the graphic. But yeah, otherwise I think just a coolly taken penalty. I think there were many of the pessimists, even the biggest optimists of Arsenal, were assuming we were missing that penalty.
Yeah.
Irrespective of who was going to step up, you just knew there wasn't something necessarily right about it. But what did you make of the penalty as well?
I thought it was. Sorry, my flatmate's just walked in. I'd love a tea, thanks, mate. Professional as ever on ABW. I thought it was nailed on. Again, really good ball from Willian. Bellerin was making those runs all day. He was really getting in behind Tierney as well. And just a stupid challenge from Pogba. And the thing that pleased me the most is the fact that I think Bellerin probably could have stayed on his feet, because Pogba was down and he could have maybe tried to square it or something, but he did the right thing. He's got the contact. Pogba hasn't touched the ball. Just go down. And look, it's Mike Dean, so the chances are slim you're going to get one, but it's 2020. Weird shit's been happening all this year. I don't know, if anyone's watched the news, there's some weird stuff been going on. We get a penalty at Old Trafford. We have two centre-backs on a yellow card and they don't get sent off. It's just like, what the fuck is going on? But yeah, I thought that was nailed on.
Yeah, that was huge. I think the general, as you mentioned, the centre-backs thing, I was just... Especially
how early it was in the game as well, because it was before 30 minutes, and I just thought Rashford and Greenwood have got pace all day, and all they've got to I just thought, if I'm United, I'm just knocking that ball in behind Rob Holding as much as possible and just getting him to chase after people. But yeah, dealt with it really well. But really like the build-up play. The ball from Willian's great. I think if Pogba doesn't get there, then hopefully Hector's picking someone out, and maybe we would have scored from that, because we hadn't really tested the Gea, to be perfectly honest. There was, I think, the Aubameyang shot that we should have got a goal corner from, the deflection off of Maguire, and then there was the one from Partey as well that also got deflection that ended up going wide. But I'm really pleased with the game and the performance. This is not Arsenal back to where we want them to be, obviously. Arsenal and United are both two teams very much in transition still. But at the moment for us, it's about beating those teams that are in and around us, trying to take points off them so we can get back into the top four in the Champions League, and then we get that extra money to improve the rest of our squad. Because you can already see that Gabriel and Partey have already made a huge difference to the squad.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've done that on a Europa League budget.
Yeah, exactly.
What we can do with a Champions League budget, because I think we've got the right people in place.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you take that investment, if we get Champions League football, and you add into that, a creative player, whether it's Awar or someone else, maybe you get another striker or a wide man, so you can play Aubameyang through the middle, or someone to replace Lacazette, whatever it is, it totally transforms the team. And the interesting thing for me is that it's two players down the spine of our team, something we've been crying out for a long time, that under Arsene, he tried to do it on a budget, and it's not Arsene's fault, but he didn't have a lot of money to spend, so the players he was getting in there, you're not going to massively improve the team. But Partey and Gabriel just make such a difference, and I just think it makes everyone else play with confidence as well.
Yeah, it looks like bringing Partey in has just, everyone has stepped their level up a bit more as well. I think people were saying that about James Rodriguez coming into Everton.
It drags everyone up to that level, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Now that they see, especially a player in that position as well, he's got so many things he can do that other players, I think, I wouldn't want to say, I don't want to make Partey sound like a lesser player, but other players have got that kind of stuff in their locker that play for us. They're just not necessarily seeing that potential within them. I think,
or maybe don't have the confidence to play it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like Elneny is a perfect example of that in the way that he is. You know, he came back from his loan. Everyone thought he's probably going to be sold or maybe loaned out again if no one bought him. Arteta's seen him in training, gone, no, you're exactly the kind of player I want. You're a consistency player. You keep the ball. We move it around. And now he's got Thomas Partey to play next to him and go, okay, I can just do my stuff. If I get a chance to go forwards, I will do, and I'll play some longer balls. But if not, I know that Thomas is there and I can give it to him and he can do that. Because, Danny's just brought up a stat here of Partey in the game. Yeah, first for touches, possessions won, tackles, interceptions, and dribbles completed. You can't ask for anything else for a centre midfielder. And that's the other thing I like about him. He is a proper centre midfielder. He is a Gerrard, Lampard, Vieira, go back old, like late 90s, early 2000s centre mid. He's not a DM. He's not an attacking mid. He's someone who will run box to box all game. And there are not many of those sort of midfielders around anymore. I think we saw a bit more of his passing range today as well, and just the way he can sort of weave through people and keep the ball. I'm really excited to see what he can do in the team.
I think one thing that kind of summed up his performance for me was kind of near the end of the game where he dispossesses Pogba, tries to then take it out again, gets dispossessed by Pogba again, and then manages to get back in and win the ball back.
Yeah.
And then make a decent pass. So it was like he's made a mistake, he's covered for it. He's just done all these great things for us. And I think the rest of the team can kind of see that. And you saw them not lost causes, but chasing things that they'd lost a lot more.
It's something in previous seasons where if a player made that mistake, you'd see them sort of throw their hands up in the air or look down at the floor, and they wouldn't do that. And you see Partey do that and you go, oh, hang on a minute, I can do that as well. And then he was doing it today. Kieran Tierney's had that sort of attitude since he's come into the club. Xhaka as well, being a younger guy, he's got a bit more to prove. I thought Xhaka again today, a little bit quiet, but again, just solid in his play, always offering an option. His partnership with Tierney down that left-hand side, I think, is fantastic. It does make us a little bit one-dimensional, I think, at the moment. And Bellerin has been playing really well, but I do think we just over-rely on that left-hand side a little bit too much, which maybe will cause us issues going forwards into other games, because if people can lock down that side of the pitch, then it is going to be an issue. But I just really good performance all round today.
Yeah, I think one thing that we kind of struggle with on that left-hand side, though, is what seems to be Aubameyang's lack of want to get in behind. We saw it so many times that, Saka's got the ball and he's looking for the overlap from Aubameyang. And Aubameyang's just wanting it short. And you're like, come on. Like, I don't think your legs have gone, to put it nicely. You're still, signing that new contract didn't immediately mean, all right, legs gone, that's it, out to pasture. He should have been pushing a lot more, I thought, just to try and get through that back line. Because, if you ran at Wan-Bissaka or you ran at Lindelof, you're going to get something out of it. It might not necessarily be a chance for him, but there'll be a free kick in it for us. And he's decent at free kicks. Lacazette's decent at free kicks. We had Willian on there, who I would say politely is a free kick merchant. That's all he really does, is take decent free kicks. And I think we've got some questions coming through as well. If anyone else in the chat box does have some questions related to Arsenal versus Man United, should say, I don't want what are you having for tea, because I need to make mine, and I'd rather, answer that at another time.
Josh is a very private person.
Yes, exactly. But we've got a question in here from David. Why does Arteta continue with Lacazette? I think we covered a little bit about that, John, already, talking about the work rate, the link-up play, but and how unfortunate he is with some of the chances. But is there anything you want to add to that as well?
No, look, I get the frustrations, and sometimes I see his name on the team sheet and I just think, oh no, like this guy, sometimes he looks like he's like towing a boat behind him and stuff, and looks like he's really sluggish, but he does do so much work off the ball that I don't think gets paid attention to, which is what Arteta is asking for, which is why I think you've seen a lot of Nketiah this season, because he's young and he's got the energy to do it. It's why you've seen Nketiah in there as well a lot. I don't think Aubameyang can do that. And I think until Arteta gets more players in the squad, he won't necessarily be able to play Aubameyang through the middle. And this game is a very different game. This is not us playing West Brom or, I don't know, Burnley or someone like that. It's against Man United. I know this is not the Man United of old, but we're not the Arsenal of old either. So you've got to go in with a certain approach of we have to close players down. We have to pressure them. I thought you did a really good job on Fred, who this season has probably been one of United's best players, and really just nullified him out of the game. He had like no influence on the game whatsoever, and he ended up having to come off. So I think that's why he's persisting with him. Will it be long term? I'm not sure. I think Arteta wants a better player in there. But at the moment, it's a case of working with what we've got. And I know people get frustrated with Aubameyang on the left, but I think his expected goals from the left-hand side to playing through the middle is hardly different at all. If you shove him out on the right, it drops right down. But from the left-hand side to the centre, it's not a big loss. So, but he got his goal today, so hopefully we'll find his shooting boots again.
I would say the other thing to look at, I think, I won't say who put it in the chat, but I have missed it because it has scrolled past. I think it was K-Man. Yeah, K-Man 1867 has just says Lacazette is a way better option than Nketiah at number 9. I completely agree for what we were asking him to do, because look at Nketiah's performance after he comes on. He can't hold the ball up at all because, and it's not his fault, but someone needs to go at Colney and put him on the stretching rack. Give him a bit more height. More presence up there,
put more muscle on him and stuff. He's still a very young kid. I think if it's a different game and we're firing balls into the box and there's a lot of getting to the byline and pulling it back into the 6-yard box, that sort of thing, and Nketiah is probably all over that. He's going to be that tapping merchant kind of goal poacher, but he's not a physical hold up player. There's something might come later in his career when he's matured, but he's still he's 19, 20. He's still very young.
He's 21-ish, And I think what player I'd look at if we want something like that is Bellerin. From the times in the little cameo we saw, again, only Dundalk, but look at the size of him, look at that kind of attributes that he's got a great touch on him, could make those little passes bring other players into the game, and I think that's the key player we'd see get subbed in. He's probably a season away from that, but that's the big upside that we've got of seeing a player like that we can solve that internally. We can probably get an upgrade for Lacazette elsewhere if we can get a more suited player to that. But for the moment, he's kind of fitting the criteria that we need.
It'll be interesting to see when Martinelli's back, if Aubameyang gets more time through the middle, if Lacazette's not his form, but his goal-scoring form is still the same. That'll be the interesting one. I've got a question for you, Josh, from Carly Elguna. Do we now have the best defence in the Premier League? Statistically, looking at the table, we currently do. But do you agree that it is the best defence in the league?
I'm going to be completely biased and say yes, of course. Of course we've got the best defence in the league. But then you go through the kind of top teams. Man City, they might look a little bit better now that they've got Diaz in there. With Laporte. I can't think who their left back is. Someone that cost them £150 bazillion. It's Benjamin Mendy. No, so they're out immediately. That guy doesn't know what defending is if it hit him in the face. And then Kyle Walker. If we go to Man United, we haven't got a wardrobe at centre-back, so we're fine. Chelsea have kept a couple of clean sheets now. I think they're getting towards having a decent defence. But Frank Lampard still can't organise one, so we're fine in that regard. Spurs, enough said. Who else have we got in there? Liverpool. Well, unfortunately, from what I heard on Liverpool Twitter, they had their best centre-back cremated after Jordan Pickford's tackle on him.
And the other thing I would say about Liverpool is that their fullbacks, excellent as they are going forwards, I think Trent Alexander-Arnold, or Terence Trent D'Arby, what the fuck his name is, that guy, as good as he is going forwards, that one in particular, I think he's weak defensively. But Liverpool have just their team so good that you don't get to see it exposed as much in games. But I do think they've got defensive weaknesses.
Yeah, so I think just as a generic back four, I think we're the best balanced, and that's what our defense is about. It's not necessarily about having the best players in it. It's about creating balance in there.
Yeah, partnerships between players, that kind of thing. And I think the other big improvement, not just the players we've got in Gabriel in particular, is that our midfield is much more secure in front of them now. Whether we're playing a 3 or a 4, everyone knows their job. Whereas I think under Emery, you could give them the same players, and it's not going to be as defensively sound because the midfield is going to be a mess. So yeah, I think it all comes in partnerships and understanding between each other. Because you could have the 2 best rated centre backs in the world, but if they can't play together, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, I agree. Question from Ryan Cost. I'm going to put this to you, John. Did you feel we went too conservative in the end, bringing on Mainsley and Mustafi? It's just perhaps Pepe could have come on to provide an outball during the last 10 minutes.
A little bit. I was, to be honest, I completely missed the Ainsley Maitland-Niles substitution. I think the first time I realised he was on was when he touched the ball and then fell over. I was like, oh, when did that sub happen? I understood the Mustafi one. Holding was obviously struggling a little bit. So they wanted to shore that up there. And I think going back to the actual proper back three at that point of the game is fine. I get the calls for Pepe and I do understand it. And I think if we're 2-0 up, then I think Pepe comes on for Willian rather than Ainsley Maitland-Niles, just because you've got that little bit of an extra buffer and United are going to have to come on to you and push. So you can make those, try and get him and release him up the pitch and try and run with the ball. So I think at 1-0, it's a different game. Again, it's one of those things of if you're playing West Brom or Burnley or Brighton, any of those teams, not to be disrespectful to them, then maybe Arteta makes a different decision and Pepe comes on. I think when it is Man United and as inconsistent as they have been, they're still got some very good players and are a real threat. So you've got to be wary of that. And I think that's the big difference. This is the sort of game where, under Emery, we either end up losing it or we scrape a draw. Maybe in the last couple of years under Arsenal as well, probably the same thing kind of happens. Whereas at the moment, these kind of games where we'd be 1-0 up, we'd be really under the cosh for 10, 15 minutes, we'd drop points. At the moment, we seem to be hanging on and holding on to games and stuff like that, which I think is massively improved for us. So that's really good news.
Yeah, and I thought the thing with Mustafi coming on, I think was a bit of we saw Holding go down earlier in the game, clutching his calf, but came back on. And I think afterwards, I didn't see anything wrong with his mobility in general. But again, I'm not a doctor or a physio, so I can't notice those kind of micro.
The other big thing with Mustafi as well is as frustrating as he can be positionally, he's so good in the air. And the last 5-10 minutes of the game like that where you're holding on, they're going to put a lot of balls into the box. Chances are they might throw a Maguire up front, that kind of thing. And as dodgy as Mustafi can be at times, aerially, he's really, really good and wins the ball a lot. So, I think that was a good, I thought all round today, Arteta got everything spot on.
Perfect. Is there any other questions we want to go through?
Just 2 very quick ones. One from Bavajan, whose name I've probably butchered. I'm really sorry. Is Elneny and Partey the midfield against low blocks? What do you reckon to that, Josh?
I think Partey's in there because of his passing ability. Elneny's been, from what we can see, kind of great. If Partey hasn't gone, he's going. And one of them is at least stopping that counter.
Yeah.
I think the question is who's the other player in there. Today it was Xhaka. I think if Aubameyang helps him out a little bit more with some overlapping runs, so it's not always out to Tierney, because a club, especially a low block club, is going to be absolutely fine with you pinging millions of balls into their head or into their area and just allowing them to head it out. So I think that's the key thing is who's that other player? Is it Ceballos? Or is it Xhaka as a little cheeky one in there? We know which player it's not going to be in there because he's not in the squad. But I think in general, that's one thing to look at is it's who's the other player, because I think the balance between Elneny and Partey is a superb foundation to build upon. Yeah,
really good shout actually in the box from Kiamet B, whose name I've also probably butchered. Willock would be an interesting one. And I think that's something you might see if Xhaka gets played as sort of the left-sided attacker, in place of Aubameyang, maybe moving to the middle, just because he does offer you those third man runs and stretches a midfield and the defence and moves them around. Right, one last question before we go, and it's from Archangel. What do we do with Pepe? I have no idea. We play him a lot in the Europa League, that's for sure. As frustrating as he is at times, he can obviously do the absolutely ridiculous on his weaker foot as well. That goal was fucking unbelievable. I don't know. I think you've just got to have patience with him, and the team is not built for him to play at the moment in the way he did in France. That whole sort of team in France was really kind of built around him and his abilities, and we're not set up to play like that. We don't really have the squad to do it. But with time, hopefully, he'll do well. If not, I don't know. Maybe eventually we'll sell him and not make too much of a loss on him.
Yeah, I think that question has come to people who aren't mostly positive about Nicolas Pepe in an Arsenal shirt. I think I suggested we take him to Mulder just so he's acclimatized for his move to Zenit, because it's that kind of place that he'd end up if we sold him. Again, I think it's got to be patient with him. I know we're annoyed. Some fans are annoyed that we got a Willian in, but that's because Pepe didn't show the kind of consistency that we wanted. Reece Nelson's still here. I think Arteta said in the Dundalk game that Reece was offered to go out on loan because he'd get more game time. He said no, he wants to stay. So there is options to go in his position again, and I think it's just a case of patience. We're not going to get the money back that we paid for sure, but there's a higher chance of us doing that if we play him in games as well. Getting anywhere near that, but otherwise, phone call to Zenit St. Petersburg and he'll be there in January.
Okay, nice. I will ask one quick question because John Bernstein complained. Sorry, John, I didn't see a question. If you can only make one change to this starting lineup for Leeds, who do you change? I would change. Oh fuck! Would I change anyone? You know what? I would. Yeah, I'd change one, and I would put Pepe in place of Lacazette and move Aubameyang through the middle. That's it. Ooh. And I'd move Willian to the left. That would be my one change, just because Leeds are extremely structured, and I think having one player on the pitch who is totally unstructured and mental slightly with the ball, and you never know what he's going to do, can cause some havoc.
Yeah, I wonder who kind of comes out of that team. I wonder about Xhaka coming out, because you mentioned about Leeds. I'm not sure if Xhaka is tactically astute enough yet to really understand what's happening in that Leeds midfield for what to do and what not to do. And I think Arteta will be shouting so many commands out in general. He can't just be coaching one player through this kind of game.
Yeah.
That would be my only question on that. The other alternative, though, is playing Xhaka. Or maybe a Ceballos. That would probably be the change I would make, would be Xhaka for Ceballos. Or maybe even El Neni for Ceballos. I think although superb, a bit more going forward, someone that can cut through those lines, because you have to be really quick to break through Leeds. We saw that when we played them in the FA Cup last season. That again, we've got to try and get through that back four or get through their back line, and you've got to be really quick and precise with your passing. And I think that's where Ceballos over El Neni might be the best option for us. But
well, that's it. We beat Man United. I'm still in shock. I can't believe it. But Josh needs to eat, and we're trying to keep the shows half an hour. We've already gone over that. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We're on Twitch and Facebook and all the other things. Are we on TikTok as well? I don't even know what the other ones are called.
Periscope as well.
Okay. We're on the submarine as well, apparently. So we're on all the things. Danny's got an OnlyFans, probably. Jesus Christ, don't ever subscribe to that. But yeah, that was the game. Have a lovely, wonderful Sunday evening. Have a few drinks or whatever it is that you enjoy, and just laugh at Roy Keane being very miserable now.
Excellent. I think that's what we all want to see, is Roy Keane being angry. But Danny, if you could do the honours, you say like and subscribe, and Danny, can you switch this shit off, please?